Perhaps you may not be aware about me. I am B.K. Gohare, Brij Kumar Gohare, Deputy Director, the Nehru Center. As you are aware, Nehru Center is a cultural wing of the High Commission of India, and today we feel privileged and proud to have all of you here with regard to a poetry session. And I think session I have been just gone through one of the concept here. We organize some similar kind of events, but today it is very special because I found many prominent writers and poets here, and Nehru Center is really delighted to have them. So thank you Masala Foundation, and welcome you at the Nehru Center. And particularly I would like to thank Mr. Yogesh Pateli choosing this auditorium for this event, which is going to be I hope a very prominent kind of event for us in terms of academic sessions that we organize in fact very often. And we are also trying to improvise the quality of the programs in terms of like poetry sessions. So we would be delighted to have your suggestions and proposals if you have in your mind in the near future, and Nehru Center and would be delighted. With these words, I'm not going to say too much and would be delighted to have and listening poetries. And I may now request Mr. Yogesh Patel to deliver further proceedings. Thank you so much.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Um, we have some slight delays for some of the guests and award winners arriving, so I'm going to stagger and change the program sometimes slightly if they're not here. Um, so welcome to our second outing of this Glorious Noise event, where we celebrate new books by important voices in diaspora poetry, most on the margin of wider recognition. However, I am now extremely optimistic because most institutions have genuine desire to do more. Things are not as bad as they were when I had to start the Word Masala Foundation. Katie Lewis, head of English Arts and Languages at Pearson, and her team, they were supposed to be here and I can't see them. But they are a good example and proof of it, as they have clearly expressed their desire to include more BAME literature in their EdExcel curriculum. I offer my gratitude to them. Still, more partners need to step forward to be inclusive of us. The Royal Society of Literature is also, thank you, Katie Lewis, Kirsty Smith, just mentioned you. The special guests arrive always late. Yes, as I was saying, and a request to Ravi as well, as soon as George comes, please let me know as well, Okay. As I said, Katie Lewis, head of English Arts and Languages at Pearson, and her team present here today are proof of it, as they have clearly expressed their desire to include more BAME literature in their EdExcel curriculum. I offer my gratitude to them. Still, more partners need to step forward to be inclusive of us. The Royal Society of Literature is also an example where transforming visible changes have taken place with their positive action. In the testing time when our nation is divided by more non-tolerance of each other, poets have to be careful to avoid aversion. Tolerance is not others' responsibility. We need to show it too. Hence, I have a disappointment in the diaspora writers as well. Why am I not able to find more of them supporting our friends across other groups at their events? You expect them to come to your events, so you must reach out too. A tolerance is a two-way street, not a one-way highway. I have been publishing international poetry in English since 1969 with my late poet friend Baldev Mirza. After 100 printed issues, we stopped that venture. Skylark Reborn in the UK is to highlight diaspora writers and poets. My preferred word is diaspora. It is a jumble, not colors. The acronym BAME points to one's color and not the culture. Americans are worse. They use POC, POC, person of color. For God's sake, no. My dear publisher friend, Rosemary Hudson of Hope Road Publishing, will concur with me. She has just reissued The Nowhere Man by Kamala Markande, a much acclaimed lost novel. Do come to its launch here as well, in this same theater, on 28th, and it is free. The Word Masala and Skylark are non-profit enterprises. I promote South Asian diaspora poets and writers by recognizing them with awards, help with the reviews, and highlight their work to publications and magazines. Organize events like this one and become a mentor. Occasionally, like an agent, but a non-profit one to that, I help place exceptional books, articles, poems, stories, and interviews with publishers and editors. Poets reading here tonight are poets in their own right, with a proven record of accomplishment. So enjoy their work. They're not only here just as the diaspora poets, but their voice is being heard right across, everywhere, internationally. There will be a raffle at the end, and I hope you all have picked up a number. And the two from the audience will win the PN Review and the London Magazine subscription. I hope you have a number for it once again. Word Masala, in recognition of introducing a genuine diversity in education, I'm announcing this evening Word Masala's Champion of Diversity Award to Katie Lewis and her team at Pearson's Edexcel. May I have Katie to come on the stage to receive the plaque, please? I was hoping George would be here, but in his absence, he's a co-conspirator in the new book just published by Iware Publishing. Ravi Shankar from America is here, so I will ask him to step in George's place, please, to present the award. Thank you.
Pleasure, and thank you for the good work it sounds like you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having us. I apologise for arriving late. Those of you with teenage children may realise it's A-level results day this week, GCSE results day next week, so that's what I've been doing in the day job. We are absolutely delighted to be the first awarding organisation to have really put diversity in English literature at the heart of our specification. I think we would all agree that it was perhaps late coming, but welcome nonetheless. I think we as an awarding organisation who get to set the content of curriculums for children in the UK have a particular privilege and responsibility to show them who literature is for, but also who literature is by and who literature is about. And I think unless there's a diverse range of voices who are represented, then however unintentionally or intentionally, that sort of triangle of literary merit gets narrowed. So we are very, very thrilled to be in this position and to have the privilege to be able to make these choices, and we're so grateful for you having us this evening, and thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Katie, and we look forward to some more introduction of the voices in the national curriculum. May I like to also point out to you that we confer the Word Masala Debut Collection Award to poets who have come to the judges' attention through their published work. We publish their first collection. In April this year, in New York, I announced Reshma Ruia as our next winner. Michael Smith student, Dr. Reshma Ruia, teaches creative writing at the Manchester University and is the fiction editor at Jaggery. She is also a book reviewer at Words of Colors. She just lost her father on the 6th of August. In his memory, as he always thrived in her success, she decided to break the period of mourning and has flown in specially from the USA just for this award. She makes us proud. Let us applaud her for her endurance and achievement. May I also ask Reshma to come on the stage to receive her award and read her poems to us, and with her Debjani Chatterjee as well, in absence of George, to come on the stage to hand over and present the award to Reshma. Just stand there for a second, so. And what I'm going to do is now ask Reshma to read her poems as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh, and thank you everybody for making the effort to come tonight. The first poem I'm going to read tonight is called A Mediterranean Summer. It's my response to the current migrant crisis that we see all around us on the screens. A Mediterranean Summer. The first time he touched the sea, his hand drew back, frightened, excited. His fingers could not understand the language of something so slippery, so shiny, so pure. Days and nights he walked, barefoot beneath the sun. At night, head pillowed on sand dunes, he dreams of rain, a feathered claw stroking his cheek. The rubber dinghy growls, he smells petrol fumes, he smells fear, 100 bodies pressing near, closed fists holding tight their world. Voices holler, trailing his fingers in the water. Ah, the wine-dark sea. He could be Ulysses if he wanted, weeping for what's left behind, what lies ahead. The orange jacket floats, skims water. A stray sandal, a puckered blanket, postcards from an unfinished voyage. Tilting beach umbrellas block the view. Champagne shimmers in the noonday sun. Well-fed bodies arch their backs, fiddle with their iPhones and iPads. The DJ's beat drowns out the sighs of those sinking out of sight. Platters of oysters lie uneaten. Models strut, pouting lips, Chanel eyes. Darling, it's good to be alive, smirks the oligarch to his wife. It is summer on the Med. Thank you. Thank you. The next poem is called Pomology, or the Study of Fruit. Being a woman can be fun at times, to be called a shape, a pear or a plum. a fruit salad deconstructed daily. Your breasts are ripe mangoes. Your hips have a melon's flair. Your mouth, a strawberry ripe for picking. A lifelong lesson in pomology it is, to be classified by the shape of your limbs. Being a woman is fun to a point. One day it's over. The harvest is ripe, ready to rot. In your sleep, while you're not watching, the seed goes sour, the juice runs dry. No glances, no whistles, all is funeral quiet. You tiptoe down the street. You still have your fruit, but it's no longer the season. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This poem is about my father. He was a child of the partition. It's called 1947. 1947, say it quickly, and it is a number. Say it slowly, it becomes a code, opening doors no one can see. My father, bird-boned, sits in his chair, frail of body and brain. He is made up of medicines and memory. There's a train running somewhere behind his eyelids, him gamboling through a field of wheat, where a pink turban scarecrow stands, arms stretched rigid, his father's calloused hand letting go of his own. Is that his mother's voice calling out, "Quick run, we have to catch the train," gifting him a single boiled egg for the journey. Books, slingshot, the red striped ball by the tulsi plant in the courtyard. He remembers them all. His grandchildren crowd round him. The girl is doing a PhD on borders and dividing lines. "Tell me about 1947, Nana," she says, tapping his shoulder. Her laptop buzzing like a bee. He stirs, he smiles, scratches his chin. "My ball, my red striped ball. I must have left it behind," he says. And my final poem is called Dinner Party in the Home Counties. Being peripheral, I can't offer opinions on climate change, oil prices, the Brexit crisis. I'm a rare breed of fish. Well-meaning pale hands throw questions like bait. Is female infanticide still common? Are you going for an arranged marriage? Where are you from, originally? One false move, I will be out of place. How pleased they look, it's a personal triumph. I don't drop my cutlery or my vowels. BAME, or is it BLAME? Blame. I become an acronym in certain rooms. What I feel, think, or eat can never be marginal. I choose not to talk of sacred cows, dog-down gurus striking yogic pose. I have earned my right to claim this slice of sky as my own, to plant my flag, sow my seed. Don't push me to the edges of a faded pink map, my face pinned to a rogues gallery labeled Minority Alternative Arts. Thank you.
As you can see up there, our next poet is Kavita A. Jindal. As per the style of this event, established previously and at our first outing, I won't introduce poets with their bio, which is up there on the screen, and you also have read it in the flyer. I'll provide a brief observation, then read an avant-garde review or a sketch poem on each poet and their work, and then they will read their work. These poems are also a part of a hybrid anthology I'm putting together, which is an anthology and a poetry collection together. So that's why I'm reading these poems as well, and in honor of all these poets here. Here is what I had to say in my recent review of Kavita's Patina. Jindal demonstrates a more balanced craft. Her observations achieve measured reflections and moods, well wrapped in an endearingly lyrical manner. She has poignancy, grace, laced in a rare simplicity. Her poems show us that the beauty around us is not the derivative of any ostentatious aesthetics, but the metaphorical patina. Patina brings time, history, and value in the play. Here is my poetic take on patina. There is nothing artificial about your patina, in which you tell us that you will be anything but be the one from whom you source what you make own. You deliver us to the Piccadilly line salon, where the hashtag pouting, peering, slicking, flicking, stroking, curling, and swishing contrasts you to a patina that checks, yes, in your words, in a mirror for bits of breakfast pear stuck in my teeth. You left Kotapuram port when the gutters overflowed. Just look at the Brexit and tell me where we are. Let us tune into your pain, wrapped in a bitter leaf in sugar, giving it patina to be coveted by a collector of antiques. Ladies and gentlemen, Kavita A. Jindal.
I'm moving here so I can see you better and you can see me. Is that okay? Is that fine? Thank you, Yogesh, for that poem. He's kind of made me forget what I was going to say, but I was going to start with a poem from long ago, actually. 1 a penny, 2 a penny. Watch this skin I'm in. I could shuck it off, present it to a young boy to surf in. I could scrawl rip curl on it. Watch as I wear my other skin, the one that doesn't swim, but is carried around in a bottomless changing bag. Both skins are rudders, guiding those with eyes. Whichever box you put me in, one skin approves, the other defies. Thanks. So that was published 15 years ago, and it was on the subject, obviously, of categories and how we put each other in boxes based on our appearance, and then you meet people again, and they may be put in another box, and eventually, of course, we all belong in many different boxes. And funnily enough, the last poem in my new collection, Patina, which was published in January this year, and there are some leaflets around about, we can find out more about it, or you can talk to me later. But funnily enough, 15 years later, there is a poem on the same subject, and it's called A Category. And the way it came about is I was in a room of scholars, post-colonial scholars, and one young person looked around this room. When I say young, I mean much younger than me. Looked around this room and said, a lot of the people in this group are post-colonial, because the things they write about are global, which is true. We are now relentlessly attacked or relentlessly receive developments from around the world. So you're not just stuck in one post-colonial bubble really. And I said, post is a good category. That's mine, the category. Just call me post. Postmodern, post-colonial, post-feminist, post-youthful. Post-desi, post-library, post-newspaper, post-yummy. post-vegan, post-bees, post-wine, post-seeds. Just call me post-post. And sorry to bore you with this, I'm going to read Piccadilly Line Salon that Yogesh referred to in his poem. I enjoy reading it, it's my London Tube poem, and people do enjoy listening to it. Piccadilly Line Salon. That kind of Wednesday morning on the tube when I'm sinking into stupor. After daredevil antics and death chases in my dreams, burnt out at dawn. 3 women in my carriage are doing their makeup. From Hammersmith to Earl's Court, they peer, pout, slick, flick. They're good, they're quick. Stroke, curl, swish. I admire their chutzpah, their ability to create their own boudoir between their faces and their mirrors in a crowded train, elbow slicing into their neighbors. Not that they need the glitz. Not that they are playing, far from it. They're almost perfect now, almost finished. One files her rounded nails. One pinches the skin over her cheek. The third is ready to pack away. Blot and smack lips, all done, sweet. I straighten up. Should I rustle in my satchel? Check in a mirror for bits of breakfast pear stuck in my teeth. Oh, thank you. So we're keeping it short tonight since we have a range of poets to go through, and this is the last poem I'll read from Patina. It's about a dwindling. It's called Water. It's really a fairy tale about the dwindling resources in our world. Water. Once, their mother put a dropper to their tongues, dispensing slow beads from the tiny brown bottle, just so they could taste her childhood. And she could tell them again of how it had been almost free, gallons to drink, until her teens, when all the clouds became white, floating. The dry became the only season. Even as machines to extract liquid from air whined and whirred, even as the sea gave up its treasure, the dry deepened. The liquid itself was priced higher than gold, higher than oil, and even if they didn't need water for existence anymore, they longed for it as humans long for what is lost and delicious. Thank you.
Our next poet is legendary. I was talking to a friend in America, and the comment was that he is someone one day will walk away with the Pulitzer. So is that good? The range, meters, and forms Ravi Shankar explores and experiments in his poems are staggering by any standard. His mastery of images and experiments with meters borrowed from many different languages demonstrates the confidence of a poet in whose hand the rhythms, sounds, and language are like play patti. The command is not only in the poetics, but also in the essence of poetry and the English language. His poems are often intellectually challenging. His joint work with George Curtis, just published by Iver Publishing, has the different aspect altogether again. and challenges to capture the spirit of a guide, but in the form of a poetic and lyrical film in words. Ravi Shankar, so I read now a poem on Ravi Shankar and a field guide to southern China, which he has written with George Curtis. Master of images, on the hopscotch of meters, you are in the Tate Modern of poems. In the dexterity of a child in you, the language is playpati, unshapely, deconstructed, like the ghazals you write, the way they should be in English. The Alexandrian quatrain of sea waves started drifting your drunken boat in the first-person narrative in 1999. Rimbaud, pre-surrealism, had no trace of a curry. Beyond your book in 2008, Language for a New Century, you traveled with George Curtis capturing the spectacle with Onablep's four-eyed vision, creating a field guide to southern China. A poem, an opera sung in colors, its music performing, dancing as a dragon with drums and percussions on the Lee River, walking as a bride towards dreams. Invoking the mint from your collection, the many uses of mint, yours and George's China rolls in the mouth with the taste buds outburst, leaving us bumbled in delight. Ladies and gentlemen, Ravi Shankar.
Thank you so much, Yogesh, for those kind words and for all of you for being here. It's my great pleasure. I've traveled from Boston in the U.S., and I'm happy to have my daughter, Samara and Talia, in the back with me. So thank you all. And this first poem actually will tell you a little bit about me, because it's autobiographical. And I loved what Kavita was saying about the boxes, right? We're in a kind of identitarian age, and while I believe that we definitely need to have tolerance, we need more than that. And that, in fact, we can't be reduced to these parts, that we forget sometimes that we're human first and foremost. And so this poem is about growing up in Northern Virginia as the son of South Asian immigrants and living in Manassas, Virginia, which is known for the Battle of Bull Run and Lorena Bobbitt. Not a cosmopolitan place by any means. And there's a couple of words. A lungi is what an Indian man wears tied around his waist. And a bindi is what an Indian woman wears on her forehead, and actually means different things in different parts of India. And I think masala chai they serve at Starbucks now, right? So I don't have to tell you what that is. This poem is called Exile. There's nowhere else I'd rather not be than here, but here I am nonetheless dispossessed, though not quite, because I never owned what's been taken from me, never have belonged in and to a place, a people, a common history. Even as a child, when I was slurred at school, towel head, dot boy, camel jockey, none of the abuse was precise. Only Sikhs wear turbans, widows and young girls bindis. Not one species of camel is indigenous to India. If, as Simone Weil writes, to be rooted is the most important and least recognized need of the human soul, behold, I am an epiphyte. I conjure sustenance from thin air, and the smell of both camphor and meatloaf equally repel me. I've worn a lungi pulled between my legs, done designer drugs while subwoofers throbbed, sipped masala chai steaming from a tin cup, driven a Dodge across the Verrazano in rush hour, and always to some degree felt extraneous, like a meteorite happened upon bingo night. This alien feeling, honed in aloneness to an edge, uses me to carve an appropriate mask each morning. I'm still unsure what effect it has on my soul. Thank you very much. And so I think that this idea that we are more than how people want to define us is really crucial. And so I went to graduate school in New York. And I was as interested in Wallace Stevens and Hart Crane as I was the Rig Veda. But of course, you know, when you're in that kind of environment, you're kind of subconsciously directed towards certain themes. And I would sometimes resist, and this is a poem of that resistance because it's a kind of satirical take, and I find satire and parody are great tools to teach my students when I'm doing writing workshops. This is a poem you might know from Christopher Marlowe, written in 1599, considered a great romantic poet, The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Some of you might remember this. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove, that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods or steepy mountain yields, and we will sit upon the rocks, singing shepherds feed their flocks, by shallow rivers to whose fall melodious birds sing madrigals. So this is this poem of seduction of the shepherd trying to woo his love. And Walter Raleigh, his contemporary, wrote a response, which was the response of this woman who is wooing to the shepherd. And I love that when there's a kind of literary dialogue taking place. And so when I saw this is an old poem, but I felt I had to interject myself into this little intimate dialogue that was happening. And so I saw no one was speaking on behalf of the sheep. And so this is the flock's reply to the passionate shepherd after both Marlowe and Sir Walter Raleigh. Marooned upon this grassy knoll, we wander lost from vale to pole. Our woolly-backs resemble thorn. It's been a while since we've been shorn. You waste much time trying to woo that nymph who never will see you. Since it's a shepherd that you are, you're better off courting a star. But over here, your loyal flock needs no clasp, no precious rock to follow you from field to field. If love's your need, we can but yield. Have you not heard us cry and bleat? When you approach us, then retreat. We miss your orders and your laugh. We even miss your clouting staff. Save those gowns made of our wool. No need to make belts or to pull. Posies from the hillside's crease. That nymph is what we call a tease. Just as the hours wing away, there are some sheep that love to play. If such delights your mind might move, then live with us and be our love. So those sheep. And I'm just going to finish with one final poem, because we have a lot of great voices today, and I don't know if George made it or not, but I wanted to read this poem because this is, I love all kinds of different forms, and I think there has been a kind of emphasis on the Western canon, but the richness of the different kinds of forms, the haiku has made it over, and maybe the ghazal, but there are dozens of other really interesting forms. And I love to experiment and play around with them. And this is a form that George introduced me to, and so I wanted to read that because I wrote this when I was with him in China. And it's a form called a specular. And it's basically, you'll hear it when I read the poem, but it's a form that mirrors itself. So the poem proceeds, and as it goes, it comes to the middle stopping point, and then it unwinds itself exactly in reverse. And this will be my final poem. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Yogesh, for this wonderful event. And this poem is called The Melancholy of Shadows at Dawn. Along the banks of the Pearl River, where ghostly outlines of buildings materialize in the polluted smog, I could just disappear with the old men doing Tai Chi and selling turtles in rusty buckets, hawking stringy phlegm into the river. I can barely see myself reflected. My lover, daughter's mother, plunged through me wispy as shepherd's purse, blanched in boiling water before filling the wanton dumplings that wrinkle like my baby girl's hands once wrapped around my fingers, grasping so tightly, and I swore I would never ever let go. They're all that hold me to this earth. They're all that hold me to this earth, and I swore I would never ever let go. My fingers grasping so tightly, like my baby girl's hands once wrapped around the wanton dumplings that wrinkle, blanched in boiling water before filling. Through me wispy as shepherd's purse, my lover, daughter's mother, plunge into the river. I can barely see myself reflected in rusty buckets, hawking stringy phlegm with the old men doing Tai Chi and selling turtles in the polluted smog. I could just disappear where ghostly outlines of buildings materialize along the banks of the Pearl River. Thank you very much.
Is Jessica here? Hi. Isn't Ravi a really great poet? And we could listen to him for hours, but perhaps, if we had an opportunity, we would have organized a separate event for him only, at Nehru Center. Jessica let her tigress loose last month at the Poetry Cafe. There is a lot more going on in Jessica's collection than the bird's eye view of immigrants' life, or growing up, or trying to figure out parents lost in making a new home as migrants, or about finding one's identity. All those migrant experiences are intertwined with the common and daily British struggles. The tension that stems from these tugs are not for the political statements for Jessica, but emotional tears that create a tigress as a plot that returns to its tamed state. Jessica Mukherjee and Tigress. A suppressed anger travels from Bangladesh, arrives on a runway in Heathrow with an egg that would spit out milk teeth to extract the words, to arrange them and leave them to dry, to arrive in London as Tigress, as poems. The broken life dips into becoming British, a lull between the color of the passport and the wedding under the sun as last papers. A child's dream is housed in the house whispers, we do things differently here. Who is delivered at wrong address on Mother's Day? Mother the tigress with the kitchen knife, or the flowers at 75 pounds from the States? Let us explore and question her father's wisdom. Christ was Krishna, just less colorful. I see the end defined in it. One on the cross and the other with an arrow in the foot. We learn our duality is the same identity in death, but different when we live. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Mukherjee.
Hello, thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Yogesh, for that great mashup of my poetry there. That was really great. I could recognize those lines. So I'm going to start with a poem called Becoming British, because I think it's an interesting topic as to what is becoming British. And I think a lot of immigrants find that quite challenging, actually. So this is my parents' journey of how they became British, and subsequently my own. Becoming British. They scramble in drawers for affidavits, letters, proof of purchase, receipts, invoices, voices. Her father was a district judge, Gulna Division. Amidst more shouting letters, we need proof of legitimacy of your marriage. Headlines, national worries of smuggling in foreign women. Whispers, her father was a stateless person, his affidavit, worthless. He fled from Bengal during the riots to Dehradun What colour is her passport? In a suitcase, under the saris, she strokes her wedding jewels. Old blue airmail letters from her father. You will bring shame on both our families if you don't marry. Must be somewhere. The vows, she said, under the stars. Garments tied in flesh red and bone white. We need proof of legitimacy of your marriage. In Kushtia, under the pole star, circling fire and incense smoke, eternity stamped with a priest's thumb, a kick from God. All papers lost. So my parents came from what was East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, and they moved to Luton, where I was born, nice and exotic, and then to Wales. And my mother didn't even know what Wales was, let alone. So my identity is sort of a bit Welsh, a bit Bronte sisters, actually, because, I thought I was from Yorkshire, so I didn't really know what was going on. So this poem kind of embodies all of that. And I play with also what language sounds like if you're not English, but also what Indian languages sound like to English people, maybe. So this is called the Welsh House. The house is covered, a skull embarrassed by ferns and furs that hold its bone face in quiet shame. The concrete porch steps are now slippery wet and covered with slime. I'm careful now, though I bounded up them as a child. You told me I fell at the top of those stairs, and you held me, presenting me to the new house like coming to a new country. We disappeared into this house where we loved but couldn't touch. Leaves against the windows, scribbling, shouting, rain and more rain. Inside, mother's silent terror and decay, I grew and left. You clung to that house, to her, year after